Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Mike Luke, joined by the great Matt Muehlbach. Jacob Franklin behind the scenes was telling Matt Muehlbach to bring his computer up a little bit closer because he looked much smaller than me. I will take it, Matt Muehlbach, the shrimp Matt Muehlbach, the giant Mike Luke. Hello, Matt Muehlbach. How are you?
You saying you could post me up, Mike? Is that what you're saying?
No, I know you got bad knees. You walk with a little bit of a limp. Now I got you.
Too small? Too small?
Oh, the too small thing. It's so stupid.
That's so bad. I never got that. I never get that. I don't mind guys that actually talk smack and like say something to your face or like, if you want to talk. Don't give me too small after you scored.
After you score, exactly. Or like when you're ahead by 35 points. Get out of here.
Yeah.
With that nonsense. All right. Matt Muehlbach, a man of many talents. First of all, I got to give you a lot of credit, but Matt, we will always lead with this. I get people all the time that ask me, Matt Muehlbach, are you going to be commentating next year? Matt Muehlbach?
I think so.
Go into your Wikipedia page and they can't find it. Wink, wink.
I think so. Yeah, I'm working on some stuff. Hopefully with FS1, Fox, or ESPN, or a little of both, and. I'm hopeful that I'll have some stuff going on, and it's been an unbelievable run with the Pac-12, but things change, and I think I'll have something going on. So
excellent. All right, now Matt Muehlbach has told me something that was he's told me this throughout the year. When I would call to complain about something, he would say, "Listen, man," he said, "Tommy is a very introspective person. Tommy Lloyd gets things." You talked about it last year after last year's loss to Princeton. You said, needed to get a little bit tougher, needed to get more guys that could make some plays off the bounce. And I think we are seeing it again this year. He's taken inventory of his team. I think he knew that there were probably too many guys on the team that really couldn't contribute a ton. And it looked like he was looking to reshape the backcourt a little bit. Matt Muehlbach, you were ahead of the curve as usual.
Well, I think, we got to all remember that, Tommy Lloyd's in his third season, now going into his fourth season at Arizona. And, it was interesting, Mike. I was watching the Final Four and the finals, and I looked something up because I was curious about this with Dan Hurley. I was like, God, how has Dan Hurley gotten so good, so soon? And I looked it up. I had no idea that, I think he coached at I know he coached at Rhode Island before. That was Wagner before Rhode Island. And he coached 6 years before he even made the NCAA tournament.
Right.
6 years. Right. Now, granted, not the same, if you're going to compare it, not the same platform as an Arizona platform, but, 6 years, no tournaments. His 7th and 8th year, he made the tournament, actually won a game in each year, but, did not reach the Sweet 16 or the second day or the second weekend. And then he went to UConn after that. And it was kind of interesting. His first 2 years, and arguably a bigger and better platform than Arizona.
Right. Yeah.
The last 30 years by far. I mean, better than anybody, really.
National titles the last 25 years. That's good.
Right. Yeah, nobody's done that even close. But, first 2 years, he didn't even make the tournament at UConn. And then his next 2 years, 3 and 4 at UConn, which were, 11 and 12 years into his coaching career, made the tournament, lost in the first round both years.
Right.
And then, of course, in his 13th and 14th year, popped a natty for both years. So, I mean, this stuff is hard. And, these coaches have to figure stuff out. They got to figure out, how does their system work in the regular season? How does it work in the postseason? The postseason's different.
Right.
I've always said it's a rock fight. And, it's a combination of a rock fight, but also once you get going in the Sweet 16 and the Final Four, you gotta have dudes. And
you gotta have guys that can get buckets when the shot isn't falling.
That's true. And Arizona struggled with that in that Clemson game.
Not everybody struggled with that, Matt Muehlbach.
That's right. That's right. But Jaden Bradley, or ding, 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 ding. Are
Ding,
we
ding,
already
ding,
doing a
ding.
Jaden Bradley reference now this
My
early?
guy. I'm telling you, I don't understand. I've been saying this. I'm going to keep saying this, Matt Milwaukee. I do not understand why he can't be Jamal Shed from Houston. Again, not a great shooter, probably not quite the passer that Shed is, but defensively, he is uber elite. You and I were messaging during the game that
Yeah.
and he gets called for fouls that aren't even fouls because I think people just get tired of him stealing the ball. And that you saw that in the Clemson game. Defensively, he is amazing. He can get to the hoop. He's the first point guard we've had here in a long time that can actually get to the hoop. Matt Muehlbach, I am all in, and I am going to convert Matt Muehlbach one day at a time.
Yeah, you've been on this before most people. I give you credit for that. And two things about him really stood out to me. One, um, the fact that I've said this actually from the beginning. Not that this was, I didn't know the results would come like this, but New York point guards, man, New York guards, they're different.
Right.
I've played against a bunch of them. I played with Khalid Reeves. I played against Kenny Anderson, and they're just different dudes, and
Right.
they're elite, and in the way they play, they have to. You better bring it when you're in New York playing that position, and you can see a lot of that in him, the sort of toughness and the creativity. And I like the fact that he gets to the line. He was his free throw, even though he played 7 minutes a game less than Kylan Boswell, he shot double the free throws.
Right.
And I think that's a really good thing for guy him. Now, Boswell shot a lot more threes, and I think as a point guard, you need to be able to make some threes. So the second thing I was going to, or the third thing, I guess now, he took a shot in that Clemson game. That every shot I think he took, what did he take? 28 threes this year.
Right.
I think 27 of them were basically catch and shoot threes.
Mm-hmm.
But he took one off the
Pull up.
dribble or off the catch and shoot that was a pull up that I had not seen all season. It was nothing but the bottom. That was a shot to me that I was like, I didn't know he had that in his bag. And it was impressive, very impressive. And so I'm looking forward to his year next year. I think he could be awesome.
And I think that going into the Big 12, he's exactly what you need, because the Big 12 is going to be a lot different than it was in the Pac-12 this year. Also, I've always believed this, that when you get into the NCAA tournament, a lot of times your shots aren't going to fall. It's like you said, you tense up a little bit. It's a different style of basketball. Here I am lecturing somebody that was on a Final Four team about this, but I will play grown up right
Hey,
now.
you're bigger than me.
I'm bigger than you, Matt Muehlbach.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody in the comments said, dude, you wouldn't score a point on Matt Muehlbach. You were probably correct. That's why it was funny. But when games slow down, you've got to have guys that can just get buckets. And I'm going to be saying this all off season. I do not care if people get annoyed by this. I do not care, because that's just the way it is. When you've got point guards, and again, I think actually Kylan Boswell, I think this is a good separation for both sides, to be honest with you. I think that he's going to be the book has not been written on Kylan Boswell. I think sometimes people just need, for whatever reason, it just doesn't quite work. Need a little bit of a change of scenery. I think he's going to be very good. But when you've got somebody like a Jaden Bradley, a KJ Lewis, they can slow the game down. I know that people don't want to hear about slowing the game down, but in the NCAA tournament, the game slows down. We've seen this before, whether that was against Houston. Granted, Houston was better than Arizona. They went 7 of 22 from three. Then Arizona went 3 of 16 against Princeton, and then 5 of 28 against. You need guys that can be able to get to the bucket, and that is why I am very, very enthused about Jaden Bradley, Matt Muehlbach.
No, you're right, and the tournament it can be a different style. Like I said, I think in the championship game and the Final Four games that we saw last weekend, those are well suited for an Arizona game. But you see some of these games, teams will slow it down. Clemson slowed it down a bit, for sure. Dayton slowed it down. I thought Arizona did a great job to get to the Sweet 16. And I think it's the other thing too. I read some things that bothered me. This is a little bit back to the Danny Hurley, when I use that as an analogy or comparison, but it just bothered me. I read a couple things that said, Arizona struggling in the tournament under Tommy Lloyd or something. I'm like, wait a second. He's
Right.
been here. He's been at Tucson 3 years. He's been to, 2 Sweet 16s in 3 years. 1 year was a tough one. That was
The Princeton one was I get it.
that's never going to feel good. However, I think the key to the NCAA tournament is just putting yourself in position. You get there, you get, and the key is, how do you get to the second weekend? Do you have teams that can get to the second weekend? Once you do, Mike Luke, you are, as you know, 2 games away from,
as I know from personal experience playing.
from basically history. You get a team that gets to the Final Four. I don't care what school you are, even Connecticut, even Duke, even the Kansas. Those are historic teams, and Tommy's been there twice in 3 years, and that's the key to success. And you get there, you get enough at bats, you're going to convert, some of those, and hopefully you convert more than others. And I think that's back to the introspective, reflective Tommy Lloyd. I think he does a great job. I talked to him a little bit this season about it. I think he does a great job thinking through, okay, what worked this year, what didn't work, how do I get better? I think he's a great combination of a blue collar guy that fits really well, with.
You could have a drink with him at Bob Dobbs.
A guy that'll have a Pabst Blue PBR with you.
By the way, Matt Muehlbach never comes to Bob Dobbs when I invite him. 3 invites, no Matt Muehlbach showing.
No, 0-3?
Yes, 0-3.
All right. Well, I go one more and I'm 25%. So
all right, there you go.
We could fix that. But
you're a power.
I think he's reflective, and I think he's a blue collar guy with a pretty entrepreneurial spirit and thought process. And I think he'll do the same thing this year. He'll think about, hey, what worked, what didn't, how can they tweak it, how can they get better? And he's right on the precipice. He's right there. And it's just, it's a tweak here, it's a tweak there. And it's continually, nowadays, as you know, this is all about roster. You got to wear your GM hat, your evaluation hat, your coach hat. How do you put the team together? How do you get good guys that will play hard, that are talented? I thought, back to Danny Hurley, I thought it was an interesting comment. He said, hey, we just try to get NBA guys that are awesome dudes, that know how to work and know how to play.
You know why I'm jealous about Hurley is that every one of his evals hits. He's not bringing in like top 3 classes every single year. Some of these dudes are transfers from East Carolina, Rutgers. I mean, you got an occasional 5-star, but everybody is good. There is no dead weight on there whatsoever. And what's also amazing about him, Matt, is that he lost 5 of his 8 rotation guys from the previous year, and they came back even better. I mean, you talk about just kind of running college basketball, and you know what's weird too? He's got a calculated aggression that I very much like, in that he can get in a player's face, but he also slaps him on the butt, at the end and says, dude, let's get this. It's
or actually pushes them in the game.
That was wild. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I've never seen it either. And I think I read somebody say that it may have been our friend Javier Morales, that he may have said that's actually a technical. I didn't even realize it was a technical.
You can't push your own team?
Yeah, I guess not. Or maybe I read somebody else that said that might be a technical, but I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, that is funny. All right, now let's talk about up front. This is where it gets interesting for me. And again, you know what, Matt Muehlbach, we're going to go in the other direction. Caleb Love. Now, again, I always tell people this, so do not get mad at me. Blame Matt Muehlbach if this does not happen. But there is a very real chance that Caleb Love will come back next year. I say, yes, sir, sign me up for 2. I know a lot of people are, and rightfully so, upset about kind of the way it ended. And, he didn't play well. I get all that. He was still one of the top 10 players in the country. You bring Caleb Love back if Caleb Love wants to come back. My only request, and I just have one request, Matt Muehlbach, is that he drive to the basket more. That's the only thing I want, because he's an okay shooter. He's not a great shooter. He's an okay shooter. He's a streaky shooter. But the one thing he can do is he can get to the hoop, and I would like to see him shoot 6 to 8 free throws per game. I think that that's very reasonable for somebody of his strength, of his skills, of all of that, Matt Muehlbach.
Yeah. No, I agree with all that. The one thing I would add, I guess, just the one addition to that is, I don't mind how many threes he takes. It's just take good ones, right? And I didn't really mind, if the shots are there for Arizona, like in the tournament, hey, go ahead and take 20, 25, 30 threes. Right. But it's more about the quality of the looks. And I will say this, I got a chance to, be around Caleb a lot this year, did a lot of U of A games. I did a chance to interview him at the Pac-12 tournament the day before their first game. And I'll say this, I just really like him.
I do too.
I didn't know what I was going to see about him. I didn't know what I was going to feel about him, before. I'd never met him. St. Louis kid, obviously McDonald's All-American, had the great season or the great run in the tournament with Carolina. Then the year the whole team didn't play very well.
Right.
And I just liked him as a person. And I think a guy that talented that you like, and he's a good teammate, I'm all for it.
All right, Matt, when was the last time you went to Circle K?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I thought about that on the way in. I prepped, and I did go there last week for gas.
That's what I like to hear. And Matt Muehlbach, if you were smart, which you are, you should be part of the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle, here's what it does. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Matt, you should get the Circle K app because then you can save when you're going to the Great Five Light Studio, you can save some money on gas in the process. I know it's a little bit of a drive for you. Go again, check it out.
Okay.
5 to 10 cents. I mean, sometimes it's even more. Download the Circle K app. Matt Muehlbach is going to be part of this. By the time he gets on the next show, we will guarantee it. And let me ask you one other thing. Have you ever won the Arizona lottery?
Mm-mm.
Would you tell me if you did?
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, no. If I'd won the big one, I would hire another lawyer, and I would go.
Why not just rep yourself? You can do it.
No, I know a lawyer who hires himself is a fool. Or as a fool for a client. Something like that. But I know I'd hire a lawyer and I'd go dark. And nobody would have any idea.
Nobody would have any idea. So if Matt Muehlbach just fell off the face of the earth, we would know that you probably won the Arizona lottery.
That's right. Then you would know.
All right. So if Matt Muehlbach ever disappears, we don't suspect foul play. We just suspect that he won the Arizona lottery. But like Matt Muehlbach, the Arizona lottery is not just about playing games and winning prizes. It's about giving back to the state and the community. Visit azadventure.com for more information on how you can take an adventure for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona prizes, just like Matt Muehlbach. Okay. Now, let's talk Oumar Ballo, leader of men. This was another one that I get it from both sides. I really do. Oumar, I've said this a million times. I'm going to keep saying it. I did not have any expectations when Oumar came in here. Like I said, I thought that, best case scenario, he was in. This isn't a slight because everybody needs a player like this. I thought he'd be a Gene Edgerson type. You throw some bows, you get the, brand yourself with the hanger tattoo and, you're just tough and rugged. But, you don't really, you do contribute, but you're not an all conference guy. Oumar Ballo certainly has some flaws, but man, he became a pretty darn good player for Arizona. He really did, Matt.
He did. You got to give him a lot of credit. You got to give him and Tommy a lot of credit. They worked together, a lot of development. What he did for the team with some limitations. But he got in shape. Chris Rounds did a great job with him. I think it's just all positive. You can't blame a guy like if he's not a great free throw shooter. I know he worked on it a ton. But that's just not his game. And I respect what he did at Arizona. He did a ton of great things.
And listen, the way that people also take this for granted, he was very bad in the pick and roll defense. There's no way around it. But how many guys in the country can you say that going into each game, he's probably going to be good for 15 and 10? Just look back in Arizona history. There's not a lot of guys that you can say that about. There's probably, off the top of my head, Ayton. AC was more of although AC was 17 and 9 as a senior, something like that.
Was JB? Was he no?
Ben Davis.
I was going to say Ben Davis, but then the kid that went to that played right before Miller got here, got to Tucson.
Jordan Hill. Jordan Hill was definitely one of those dudes. But again, we're talking really, really good players here. So again, Oumar Ballo, leader of men, got to give him a lot of credit on that. D. Will obviously as well, but. Like I said, I just didn't see him. And I think that's a real feather in Tommy Lloyd's cap that he was able to develop him the way he did. Because, again, I thought that he was just going to kind of be a tough, physical roster filler guy. And he's probably going to make he's going to probably get a lot of NIL somewhere. And he deserves it, to use one of my favorite phrases.
He does. And by the way, he's going to play pro somewhere.
No doubt.
He's really developed into a guy that understands the game, understands especially the system that Arizona ran. And hats off to everything he did at Arizona. And he had I'll tell you, you and I guys that follow this a lot, we'll look at like the Ken Palm, the advanced stats. He was in Ken Palm's advanced stats for player of the year in the conference the entire season,
Right.
in the top 5, which was, I never would have believed that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, his presence during, especially the last month of the season, down low offensively, some of the things he did was remarkable.
Let's talk Mount Krivas. I am very enamored by Mount Krivas, and I believe that Tommy Lloyd is probably very enamored by Mount Krivas as well. Here, listen, he's never going to be a great athlete. I get all of that, but he's got basketball skills that Umar Ballo, leader of men, just does not have. That's, again, Umar Ballo can do some things that Krivas can't, but Krivas, I do believe, has a higher upside. What I think a lot of people watch him and they're like, oh, well, he can't finish around the hoop, or he's always getting the ball stripped. This was his first year. You're going to see a different Mount Krivas next year, Matt Muehlbach, just like you saw a different Matt Muehlbach from the Final Four year to the following year after that. This is true.
Yeah, no question. And I think, and with that said, so let me start here. With that said, Krivas is if you do the usage on his 40 minutes per for every game, his numbers were actually almost dead similar to what Ballo's were.
Right.
If you do 40 minutes a game, his points was just a slight bit lower. His rebounds was actually higher than Ballo's per 40 minutes. And we all know that his free throw shooting, he's an awesome free throw shooter for a big guy. And
he has very much of a Gonzaga feel to him.
It does. Much. And I think without getting into my recipe for a Final Four appearance, but one of my top 5 or 6 things on the recipe is you have to have rim protection. And teams that have rim protection do really well in the tournament. And it doesn't mean you have to have a team that just focus on big guys and you throw the ball inside. It just means rim protection. He's a great rim protector.
Right.
He just has, unbelievable size.
And he's legitimately 7'2". He's not 6'11" and
he's
a half.
Legitimate.
He's legitimately. I think you were you doing a broadcast with Reggie and Brian one time, or in the GOAT this year?
Oh.
You were, because I was listening.
Maybe last year. Or was it this year?
I think it was this year. It was a very early season
game.
It
might have been.
Maybe it was a scrimmage.
It must have been a scrimmage, yeah.
But you did, because I remember tuning in. I'm listening to the GOAT and I'm listening to Reggie, and I'm like, wait a second, I know this guy too. That's Matt Muehlbach. But you said something on there. You're like, man, I had no clue until I stood next to Krivas just how tall Krivas is. Like, again, he is a massive human being.
The nickname is apt for him. But is he the tallest U of A player ever?
That's a great question. That is
because Lauren Woods was a little over.
You
7.
represented Lauren, didn't you?
I represented Lauren Woods. He's a great kid. I think he was close to 7'1" with shoes on. Krivas is taller. But I think that may be the tallest.
Because I'm thinking there's some legitimate 7-footers like Ed Stokes.
He was right there,
I think he's probably the tallest player in U of A history. Yeah. Oh, Koloko was 7. Yeah.
Koloko was right there. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. People are asking me to post this picture. I don't know what picture they're talking about. Maybe that's just me scattering about. Tell me what picture it is, and if it's appropriate, maybe I will. But he's just a really, really big dude. Now, Dylan Anderson, my guy, is gone. Very sad about this. Not happy at all about Dylan Anderson gone. Wish him nothing but the best. Henry Vasar is back. It'll be interesting to see what Henry can do. Hasn't shown a ton, but if you redshirt a guy and you bring him back for a junior year, Matt, you obviously see something, because Tommy also saw some guys on the roster that he's like, yeah, they're probably not going to contribute. So we wish you the best, but shoo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of that. That's part of that stuff nowadays, right? It's kind of a two-way street. Guys leave, and sometimes they leave because it's time to leave for the team and them. But no, I think it's interesting. Vasar, more length. If you consider probably off the bench length, I mean, that's awesome.
I don't want him starting in the Big 12. I like him, but I do not want him starting in the Big 12. Yes.
Yeah. No, the Big 12 is it's gonna be. Speaking of that, it's gonna be fun to watch. Just how the team, some of these locations, how the team reacts to just different style of play and just a deeper league.
The Big 12 knows that the Big 12 suits know that Matt Muehlbach is originally from Big 12 country.
That's true. KC guy. That's right.
All right. We need to make sure that these people do know this. Also, this being asked in the questions, Matt Muehlbach, why don't big men dunk more when they can? I have never understood that. If I could dunk, I would dunk every single time. I don't care if I'm getting blocked. I'm looking to break your arm and dunk. Way too many big men don't dunk. It drives me up a wall. Why do they not do this?
I think sometimes, well, two reasons, because they can, so they don't have to, right? And just the opposite of you and me, for the most part, other than a couple.
Oh, Matt Muehlbach's looking to dunk if he's got the ball. Come on.
Couple times I had some, but I think it's partly too. You can get the ball up quicker from an angle. You can just get it up quicker if you're laying.
How does it go again? One more time. How does it go?
Yeah, like this.
Okay, gotcha. Perfect.
You can get it up quicker if you than gathering and jumping and dunking. So sometimes too, for some of those guys, you got to bring it down. You have to kind of gather. You may have to have a little crab step or a crab dribble.
No, the crab dribble sucks. The crab dribble is always taken away from Krivas. Every single time that's taken away.
That's why you don't dunk. So because you're what you're doing is you can actually from a speed standpoint, you can get it into the rim and on the board faster.
Mm-hmm. All right. But do you agree with this approach, Matt?
Well,
explaining the other side.
I would say this: when you can dunk and you can get it up and throw it down. Yes, I mean we saw Ballo do that constantly.
True.
Ballo led the team in dunks, and he had no problem dunking it. But sometimes, like I said, sometimes from an angle standpoint, you can actually get it on the backboard quicker.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question here. Tell me what you think of this perimeter. And is this an upgrade? Is it the same? What is this? Okay, here we go. We're putting you on the spot. Okay. Jaden Bradley at the point. Fifth-year senior Caleb Love at the 2. Sophomore KJ Lewis at the 3. What say you, Matt Muehlbach?
Yeah, I mean it's a dynamic backcourt, probably better defensively. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure it shoots it as well, especially when Kylan shot it well and Pella shot it pretty well this year. But probably more athletic, more dynamic, and I mean legit. I mean that's a team that can get you, like I said earlier, get you to the second weekend, no problem.
Is that a better fit for the Big 12, perhaps?
It might be, yeah. It might be a little bit. I mean, again, I don't want to. You and I probably. I'm a big fan of Pella's, and I think Pella would have played well in the Big 12. I think, but I do like it. I like the toughness of it. I think you just mentioned a guy that I think we haven't talked about yet, but KJ Lewis is going to be fascinating.
We're going to talk KJ. We're going to talk KJ Lewis here in a second. That is called a tease. Let's see here. We've got. Oh, all right, Jacob Franklin. I am sending you something, by the way. That we need to put up there. Erica Day just messaged me. This is actually a good picture. Erica Day is very worthwhile. Follow her on Twitter, Erica Leah Day, I believe. All right, Jacob Franklin, when you get this, is a very good picture of Krivas. But first, before we talk KJ Lewis, let's talk. What do we want to talk? The BetMGM Sportsbook app. All right, let's say you're like Matt Muehlbach, and let's say you're not like Matt Muehlbach, and you don't excel at everything in life. You don't have a beautiful family. You don't make good money. You're not a lawyer. You're not a Mr. Triple-Double. Let's just say life doesn't come as easily to you, but you're looking to make a little bit of Matt Muehlbach money. That's where you come in here. The BetMGM Sportsbook app is here for you. Sign up for BetMGM. Use bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM Sportsbook wager through BetMGM Sportsbook mobile app for at least $10. You'll receive $1,500 in bonus bets if the bet loses. Check out the show notes for details, and let's hear the disclaimer.
Bets expire in 7 days. One new customer offer only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. See BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, North Carolina, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
And the other thing about Matt Muehlbach, he gets to root for good teams. And it's not like he's some bandwagon fan either that's like, he gets to root for the Chiefs. How's that worked the last 4 or 5 years? You get to root for the Warriors. You're from there. Obviously, your good buddy Steve Kerr is the coach there. Matt Muehlbach, you live a charmed life, and I appreciate the teams you root for because you have ties to them. Growing up, I would always be amused by the kids in the 90s that would like the Cowboys in football, the Bulls in basketball, and the Yankees in baseball. Get
That's
out
right.
of here with all that crap.
That's right. Well, obviously the Chiefs, were my growing up my football team. The Royals too, who are back a little bit, baby.
And
the
they won a
Royals are
World
back.
Series in the last 10 years. Who would have thought?
They won in 14-15. And by the way, for our guy Brad Allis, I put
Our guy.
up behind me the Eric Hosmer painting that I have from him running from third to home. Right behind me, I moved that picture so I wouldn't get any grief from Alice anymore.
No, it looks good. By the way, Jacob Franklin, you have this picture. If we can post this at some point, or if you could put this in the hopper, we would very much appreciate it. All right, KJ Lewis. I'm worried about KJ Lewis, Matt. I am worried about KJ Lewis because I do not want KJ Lewis testing the NBA draft waters. I do not want that at all. We've seen the Dalen Terry situation where you don't do a ton necessarily, but the NBA, as you know, drafts based off of potential. KJ Lewis, I don't know what level he is, although I do believe he has a very high upside. He's an NBA player. I do not want teams to be poking and prodding around at KJ Lewis at all.
I don't either. And, you never know what a guy's going to do. For him, obviously, I think it would be, behoove him for his development to come back and, get a chance to start. But you never know. Somebody makes a promise or something. And I just think he's, the thing that fascinated me about him this year is just how smart he was. He's
got a real knack for the ball.
Got a knack for the ball. His assist to turnover ratio was really, really good for a freshman who didn't play a lot. It's, people don't realize how hard it is to come off the bench and in limited minutes make things happen, but not make mistakes. Right. And you don't have a feel for the game. You just come in cold. You've been warming up, and then you sit for 15 minutes or 10 minutes, in real time. And I was impressed with that. And I think again, a year under Tommy, who's already shown a great ability to develop guys in a great way. And I think he'd be awesome next year. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and again, what I also like about him too, he's another dude that's just built for the Big 12. You look at him, he is physical, he is strong. But I also think that I get people that'll ask me, they're like, well, has he maxed out? Is he that Stanley Johnson? I don't think so at all. Because the thing with Stanley was not a next level athlete. Whereas KJ Lewis is a next level athlete. Yes, KJ Lewis is very built, but at the same time, you can also tell that he's still figuring out exactly how to use all of that. I'm also going to go out on record on this. Just like I thought Jaden Bradley is going to be a better shooter next year, I think KJ Lewis is going to be a decent shooter. Here's what I like about both of them. They both have good form on their shots. There's nothing broken about it. Like when Shakur would shoot, you knew that thing could hit the ocean because of how weird it was, the formation. Didn't like anytime Mustafa Shakur shot a three, wasn't happy with it. But KJ Lewis, Jaden Bradley, I think that they are going to surprise even the great Matt Muehlbach.
They will, and I don't think, although I will say individual workouts have developed to the point actually that I think there's too much of them with a lot of players these days. They don't play enough real basketball and just play pickup games.
Right.
But I don't think they even know how hard to work, when you're in high school and you get into college, you figure out how hard to work. He's going to shoot, I don't know. What was the famous Kyle Fogg shot 25,000 shots or 40,000 shots?
It was something crazy like that. Yeah, exactly.
And look at where he is now.
Right.
Look at where he is. He's made an incredible career. He's made a ton of money. He's had an unbelievable career because of just his work ethic. And I think, KJ seems to me as a worker, a guy that loves the game. And he's gonna shoot 20 plus 25,000 jumpers, if not more. And when you do that, man, to your point, if you do that and your shot's not broken, which it's not, he's going to get much better as perimeter game. And by the way, I just liked his confidence in the tournament. He was ready for prime time. You watched his body language in those
He was ready.
games. He was like, give it to me. Like let's go. I'm ready to make a play on both, defense and offense. And he's, like you said, I think he made a good point that he's a Big 12 guy.
He is a Big 12 guy.
I think he's going to fit well with that style.
Through and through. Okay, Jacob Franklin has this picture up. Let's see this picture of Mount Krivas. The great Erica Day. This is why you follow Erica on Twitter, because you get this.
It's a great pick.
No, it is. Matt, you should use this when you are broadcasting Arizona, Kansas next year. Wink, wink. you need to post this picture, and I think we can get Erica to sell the copyright on it.
I was going to say we need to get her permission, but I love the pick. That's awesome, man.
Oh, hey, I got a story here. So Christopher Jebbia, I believe, says, I picked up Krivas driving Uber the other day after they got back from the Clemson game. Great kid. John Schuster has picked up the great John Schuster has picked up Henry Vasar before, and he said it's just funny. He said because people again, and this always amuses me. People have no idea how big somebody who's 7 foot is. And he said it was like watching somebody like try to like fold an accordion in and out of the car, just how big they are. It was people just don't get it, Matt Muehlbach. I mean, you're a measly 6'3"?
Yeah, no, I'm tiny. I think my pictures my 3 or 4 years were always I was either the smallest or Kenny Lofton was smaller than me. That was it.
All right. Now, I do want to ask you something about the past and about the NCAA tournament. You and I have gone back and forth a little bit on this. I'm probably going to get slapped by Arizona fans, the older Arizona fans. The younger ones, like Erica, have no clue what I'm talking about, so I will take advantage of this. I think I've watched that 1988 game a lot between Arizona and Oklahoma. And most Arizona fans think that if you played Oklahoma 10 times, I think it's 5-5. I do. I think that Oklahoma up front. I know Steve Kerr didn't play well. I get all that. But Oklahoma up front was a monster. You guys had the best player, but Oklahoma was absolutely loaded. I think it's 5-5. Do you disagree with this, Matt? Is your competitive spirit? I see the cackles on your neck raising up.
Right. No, I disagree. Wholeheartedly disagree.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, because we had a point guard that was normally he was shooting 60% from 3 before that game.
I was going to say turned to be 57. Yes.
Yeah, and obviously, just didn't have his normal game, and there was no weird. I'll tell you the one weird reason. I was asking you about this the other day. I swear to God, back in those days, we had those rims. They were the collapsible rims.
Yeah.
But they were the old collapsible. I need to go look at that tape because I swear those rims were the tightest rims I think I'd ever played on in my entire career in college. They were so tight. And I'm not making an excuse necessarily, but I am. I'm just saying
you are making excuses. We can make excuses. I make excuses all throughout life.
They were tight. And I just don't think if we play 10 times, Steve's going to make 6 of those 12 the other 7 or 8 times. And I don't think they're going to make the threes they made. They made some threes by their 3-man. I can't think of his name right now that he didn't normally make. I think, look.
Who had more raw talent, Oklahoma or Arizona?
It's a good question.
Because you had Stacey King. You had who was the other big man as well?
Grant. Was it Harvey Grant or
Harvey Grant? Both those dudes are playing in the NBA for 10 years. You had Ramil Robinson at the point. I'm not Ramil Robinson, same guy. Mookie Blaylock.
Yeah, Mookie Blaylock. The Pearl
that's a
Jam's
lot of talent, Matt.
That was Pearl Jam's first name.
Mookie Blaylock. I did know that.
Mookie
Yes,
Blaylock.
out of Washington. Absolutely, I did know that.
That's right. They were big fans. That's why they named their album 10. So
I did not know that.
Because Mookie's number was 10. But anyway, no, I think we had more. I think Arizona had more talent, and I think Kerr has better games if we played 10 times. I think they don't shoot it as well.
Was Kerr better than Mookie?
Just different,
right.
Totally different. I mean, Mookie was one of the best defenders in the nation, but Kerr was he was the best shooter in the nation.
Right.
So I just think we didn't play that well. We didn't shoot it well. They shot it well. Like I was going to say this, we break all these things down. We go back and forth. We talk about players. These losses in the tournament become narratives on what, Arizona needs to do or a coach needs to do or a player needs to do. A lot of times, I mean, I hate to say this, it just comes down to making shots.
Yep.
And, a guy, I was listening to, I went home to watch the Clemson game. And on the way home, I remember Ryan Hansen does an awesome job on the radio.
Very good. An institution unto himself. Yes.
Huh?
An institution all unto himself next to the GOAT.
Him and Jeffries are awesome.
They are.
And I learned a lot as an announcer from both of them. And I heard Ryan say he was, a guy in Clemson had made 1 3 the whole year.
Right.
And he makes a 3, and they came down on the other end, and somebody from Arizona, Pella, I think it was Caleb, may have missed a wide open 3 is what he said on the radio. And he said, sometimes that's the difference. It's just that guy made it, Arizona didn't, and there's your game.
All right, so we've got how many you guys? Because I'm about to give you a compliment, but after you, so you play Oklahoma 10 times. How many times?
Yeah, I think we win 7.5 times.
7.5. Are you going
You like
7
the
or 8?
half?
You don't get 7.5. You get
I'll
7 or
go
8.
8 then. I go 8.
Wow. All right. I like it. I like it.
I got confidence in my
This is
squad.
going to be a fun debate to have into the years. But I say that to tell you this: in 1989, I do believe that you would have beaten UNLV. 7 or
About
8.
the same.
About
About the
the
same.
same. Yeah, but I
To
disagree with
me.
you about the 7.5.
You disagree with me with the first one.
But I do agree with you on this. I think, but I only brought that up, joking aside, just because it just shows you the draw of the tournament. You had hands down the best player in the country that year. Sorry, Danny Ferry, you are not. And, again, it was right before the UConn dynasty, or not UConn dynasty, the UNLV thing really took off. But I still think that you would have won. And I thought that, in hindsight, and granted, I was 4, so I've had to go back and do a lot of research. But I do think that 89, you were clearly the best team in the country.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We were. I think I agree with you on that. And that's actually another thing I want to talk about. Like, it's interesting that year is kind of like Arizona this year. Arizona loses to Clemson in the Sweet 16. What happened to Clemson the next game? They lost. They didn't play as well. What happened to UNLV that year? They lost to Seton Hall. In that tournament, a lot of those, many of those teams are trying to win one game.
Right.
And their entire life is dependent on winning one game. What makes it hard for the really high seeds is, and especially for that Arizona team in 89, we're trying to win 6.
Right.
We're not trying to win 1. And it's hard to compartmentalize each of those games. I'm not saying at all we were looking past UNLV. We weren't. But you're trying to win 6, and it's hard to give 32% on every single 6 games,
Right.
And that's why there's upsets.
My guy Rage in here. Hello, Rage Triano. Rage Triano. Be nice to Rage on Twitter. Rage is a good dude. Rage used to hate me. Now Rage likes me. So, whatever I'm doing well, I will continue to do it well. All right. Now, what was I going to tell you? I can't. Well, you know what? While I'm trying to get my train of thought, let's talk about the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Matt Mullock, have you ever been there?
Where is it? And
there's multiple ones. There's one that's right off I-10. I think it's the Wild Horse Pass.
Oh, of course I've been there. Yeah.
Oh, well, duh. Have you seen? It's got the cool little blue wave. Have you seen it?
I don't recall that, but I have been there probably more times than I should have. But anyway.
All right, well, you know what? That's a great thing. The Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Again, you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. Here's a cool little thing. Maybe you'll see Matt Mulebach rolling around in there at some point. Who knows? Maybe you will. Now, let's all right, now going into next year then. Before we sign off, going into next year, Arizona needs a power forward. And I would like, I would like somebody that can just get buckets. I think at the end of the day, here's where I'm at. It's cool to have shooters. I get all of that. But unless it's a Steve Kerr, unless it's a Salim Stoudemire, the shooters kind of come and go. And I'm getting beat up by some people because I don't really care if somebody Listen, Keyshawn Johnson shot 2.5 threes per game and he made 40%. I do not care that no defense is saying, man, well, we can't go into this defense because Keyshawn Johnson might kill us from 3-point range. No, you want Keyshawn to shoot as many threes as you can. It's cool that he made some, but Keyshawn Johnson's not ever going to make 6 threes in a game. I need dudes that can get buckets. When the shot clock is winding down, yes, I'd like him to be able to shoot. I need guys that can go out and get theirs, period, Matt Mulebach.
Well, I'd even go further and say, I mean, yeah, they can get buckets. And like you said, I'm not living and dying by them shooting threes unless it's Dirk Nowitzki or KD or somebody like that, right? But
if Steve Kerr goes 2 of 15, I'll deal with it. That was just one of those games.
That's right. But I think the 4 position, the power forward in today's game is the hardest position to fill on any team. And it's the Draymond Green, it's the Bam Adebayo, it's the, and I right after I say that, I'll start, there's not many left. And I think it's just the hardest one to find an absolute dog that can get you 10, 12, 13 rebounds a game, plays unbelievable defense, gets you buckets, at opportune times. And it's a really difficult position. Like Dennis Rodman, with the Bulls, even though he never even scored, but a guy that can score a little bit Because what happens in
You
today's
also need
basketball,
intangible. You need the intangible factor.
it's
For
the
sure.
intangibles, and so many guys that can play that position. What do they want to do? They want to be KD.
Right.
Now, if you give me KD, fine. That's
Right.
of
I'll deal
course,
with it.
We'll deal with that. But most guys can't do that, and so they immediately go outside and they start shooting threes, and they don't become kind of the Draymonds that some of them could become, where they just become a dog and can defend and make a million hustle plays a game. And that's the position I think that that's why Draymond's so good.
Right.
That's why despite some of the stuff he's done, I mean they ride with him because he can flat out change games with his defense.
I saved the most important conversation for the end of the show, but first we have a PHNX event as a golf event. Jacob Franklin, pull up the clip. Let's see this. We've got something going on here. This is very, very cool. I believe it was a golf event that Jacob Franklin messaged me about. If I'm wrong about it, either way, in the meantime, become a PHNX diehard. Go PHNX. All kinds of good stuff. Discord, behind the scenes stuff. All kinds of really good stuff. Become a PHNX diehard. Maybe it wasn't a golf event, but I thought it was a golf event. Let's see here. Jacob Franklin. Oh, yes, it's a golf event. I don't have the video yet. That's on me. But either way, check it out. All right, now, Matt Muehlbach. There is a lot of rumors flying around about this Stanford women's basketball coaching position and who could possibly be filling it. I have heard from multiple sources that Kevin O'Neal could be in play. Do you see Kevin O'Neal possibly switching over into the women's basketball game?
Hey, he's up there. He's definitely a consideration. Maybe slightly different than Tara, just a little bit.
A little bit. But sometimes different strokes for different folks. Could you see Kevin O'Neal excelling at the high level of the women's college basketball game?
Kevin O'Neal can excel at anything. And by the way, I love that you tweet no matter what position is open in any sport that Kevin O'Neal might be part of that.
This is the first time we've crossed over into women's athletics. Because again, but I was thinking to myself, why limit KO when, again, this is a man of many seasons. He's been up in the Bay Area a lot. He's in California. Maybe
in California. There you go.
He could helicopter in for practice and then helicopter back. And then he could still be at Camp Pendleton or wherever he's hanging out with all the Marines by, 4:30.
All the Navy SEALs, right?
Yeah, dude. We need to get a picture of the buff KO, because last time we had him on a couple years ago, he was jacked.
Oh, he's jacked. He works out like crazy. You don't want to mess with KO right now.
We will not mess with KO. But Matt Muehlbach, the great Matt Muehlbach, we very much appreciate your time. Everybody out there, the comments, thank you very, very much. You, Jacob Franklin behind the scenes, 6'8" Jacob Franklin, 6'2" Matt Muehlbach, the not 6'2" Mike Luke. You have been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Thank you.
We all silly like the mayor.